Hey guys, it's me Saran back with another video. I normally don't do videos this soon, as you guys all know, but Macklemore did an interview with Hot 97, the same radio station that did the now viral interview with Azealia Banks, and a lot of people have been asking me to make a response video. I think the video got put up, if not yesterday, last night, sometime today, this morning. It doesn't have that many views yet. It was good. It was cool. I'm not a fan of Macklemore. I think it's weird. I feel like Macklemore respects the culture. I do feel like Macklemore respects the culture, but I also kind of feel like Macklemore is a sellout, which seems weird to say because he's white. But I feel like, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis or whatever, they kind of like did their thing, like grinding for like 10 years of like making kind of, like legit, rap music and, talking about social issues and, trying to raise awareness and making songs about his white privilege and, kind of understanding that he had privilege and shit like that. And that didn't really get them anywhere. Like, they literally were grinding for like 10 years and didn't get shit. They have like 5 albums out. And then they were like, man, fuck this shit. We better make some pop shit, man. Thrift shop. And they made that poppy-ass thrift shop, which of course caught on. And then they made Same Love, which of course caught on. Because anytime nowadays you make any type of music about, like gay activities, Frank Ocean, you automatically win awards. And I kind of feel like that was like their little selling out period. Like, man, we've been grinding. We're tired of this shit. We want to win some awards. We're going to put together a big 3 heat team. We're going to steal these rings. Like, we're going to steal these Grammys. So I don't really respect that. I low-key kind of feel like that shit's eating him up inside, which is why I feel like he kind of like disappeared. On this interview that he gave on Hot 97, he said, like, oh, they have, like, new music that's probably going to come out next year. But he seemed really subdued, to me, in my opinion. And I kind of feel like that's why. Like, he's got guilt, that, like, white guilt. Like, damn, like, we sold out. We, like, raped the culture that we actually do enjoy and feel like we're a part of. And we basically, like, robbed the Grammys and we robbed other more deserving artists like Kendrick Lamar. And now we're, like, living with this guilt, basically, He probably, like, have you guys ever seen that episode of Hey Arnold where Phoebe fucking cheats? I think it's called, like, Phoebe Cheated or something, where she, like, cheats and she, like, copies the poem out of the book and she wins the award, and then she feels like the award is, like, mocking her and, like, talking to her, and she tries to, like, get rid of it. She, like, wanted the award so bad, and then she, like, gets it, and she, like, doesn't even want it. It's, like, not even doing anything for her. I kind of feel like that's how Macklemore feels about his Grammys that he won for The Heist. And best new artist. How are you a best new artist when you have 4 albums out and you've been making music for 10 years? How do you win, best rap album over someone like Kendrick Lamar, who had, one of the most critically acclaimed albums of the year and this and that with Good Kid, Mad City? So I got a very kind of weird, guilty vibe while I was watching this interview. It was a pretty good interview. I don't think it was better than Azealia Banks' interview. And while I was watching the interview, I don't know, there were some parts that kind of made me uncomfortable. I feel like Ebro, especially Ebro, Rosenberg not so much because Rosenberg is friends with Azealia Banks, but I kind of felt like Ebro was way more respectful of Macklemore than he was Azealia Banks. I kind of feel like they brought Azealia Banks on. And from the minute the interview started, when the interview started, she's like really calm and collected, and they're kind of like goading her because they feel like, they're going to get a response out of her. And I definitely feel like the way they treated Macklemore was like way more respectful, way more understanding, way calmer. And I definitely think a huge part of that has to do with the fact that Azealia Banks is black and is, a woman. So I definitely think there was some white male privilege going on. The whole interview kind of has a sense of like, man talk, guy talk, we're all men here, discussing issues amongst men, and I definitely feel like Azealia Banks doesn't get the same common courtesy when she goes on male-dominated interviews, in the male-dominated arena of hip-hop. And I could say the same thing for Nicki Minaj. And, this is the same conversations that we've been having for, years and years Lauryn Hill, you know, she says I go on interviews and the type of questions they ask me are definitely, you know, different than the type of questions that they ask, you know, Wyclef or Pras, you know, when she was with the Fugees. And I kind of felt the same way watching this interview. Like, you know, Macklemore is kind of saying a lot of the same stuff as Azealia Banks, but, you know, where they kind of want to disagree with Azealia Banks and try to, like, goad her into saying something else or changing her mind or changing her opinion. With Macklemore, they all just kind of, like, nod their heads and, like, oh, okay. Like, you know, it was just a much more, you know, calm, respectful, less inflammatory interview. I think Azealia Banks' was better. I feel like it was more raw and more honest. Macklemore's was good, but it definitely did feel a bit rehearsed to me. I think he knew what he was going to say. I think they knew what they were going to ask him. Regarding what he said about white privilege, because he said a lot of interesting things about white privilege, you know, Macklemore knows the deal. He knows the deal, which is why, like I said, I think it bugs him even more that he won those Grammys and that he kind of sold out with that poppy thrift shop shit, because he knows the deal. He knows how it works. They try to avoid talking about the Australian Voldemort by name. No one wants to talk about her by name. I watched this Logic interview. I had never even heard of this kid, Logic, who's a white rapper or something. He says the same thing. He throws his hands up in the air and says, you know, like, oh, we're on the same label, so I don't want to, like, say too much about her. Macklemore says the same thing. You know, I don't want to talk about her personally. I don't want to talk about her specifically, like, but I'll talk about, you know, the issues and the bigger issues at hand. Man, I feel like this bitch, like, has ties to the mob, or, you know, because people are, like, really afraid of her. They're, like, really afraid to talk about her. And I kind of feel like it's because people have this awareness of how, like, the media, the mainstream media, has, like, turned her into some type of media darling, where anything you say about her turns into this thing of people bullying her and coming for her and how unfair it is. And that's just her white, you know, her white female privilege is being seen as this, you know, innocent, you know, pale, pasty, spoiled brat that needs to be protected all the time and at all costs. So no one wants to talk about her by name, except Azealia Banks. She's the only one with the fucking balls to talk about this bitch by name, which I love. Like, fucking drag her to the depths of hell where she belongs. But he says a lot of stuff about, you know, things that we all know. The Grammys are political. You know, still the majority of the Grammy voters are, you know, 90-year-old white guys that don't respect hip-hop, that don't respect the culture, that still hate it, you know, that don't think it's real musicianship, you know, that don't know anything about it, that don't want to know anything about it, that don't know anything about the artist, and they simply vote for names, recognizable names, you know, but, you know, big songs of the year and white faces and people that look like them. Is that unfair when you have an award category and ceremony that's supposed to honor artistic excellence? Sure. Is it racist? Yes, of course. You know, and just like I say in all my videos, you know, these are just more ways that we see, you know, racism and anti-blackness and white supremacy and white privilege really playing out in our society. And you're going to have people that say, like, oh, it doesn't matter, it's just music, it's just an award. And it's like, just like I said in my police brutality video, you know, this is just a symptom of a larger issue. You know, it's just like another leg of the octopus, music, you know, and not being recognized for the things that we do, and watching white artists, you know, walk away with awards and getting recognized for mediocre music, for mediocrity. So he just said a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, I feel like the interview was really slow. I kind of, like, skipped through it, like, skimmed it. I'm trying to think, did he say anything that Azealia Banks didn't say? He really didn't. He just kind of rehashed a lot of what she said, but he was able to give it from his white male perspective, which I guess is cool if that's the kind of thing you're going for and you want to watch. I could care less what white men have to say about the majority of topics. He did say something that I did like about white people being guests in the house of hip-hop and being guests in the culture, which I did like, because a lot of people don't seem to understand this. People always want to say, oh, you know, music is for everyone and hip-hop is for everyone, and they kind of got into, you know, how hip-hop was born out of social movements and was born out of the civil rights movement as a way to kind of fight back, you know, to fight back against white oppression, and how it's kind of offensive, not kind of, but how it is, how it's offensive to try to remove that racial context, which a lot of people want to do now because they're fucking ignorant as fuck and they don't know shit about shit, assholes. But yeah, you have people that want to remove the racial context and say like, oh, well, it's just music. It's just an art form. It's for everyone. And it's kind of like, no, rap was born out of a really specific time period of Black discontent and Black oppression, you know, and the way we were feeling about the way that things were going, you know, with the police, and, you know, you have NWA and fuck the police, and Tupac, you know, Tupac made tons of music about fuck crackers. So when I hear like the Australian Voldemort say like, oh, well, Tupac's my favorite rapper, I just be like, damn, you grew up listening to all that anti-white shit? Like, oh, okay, like, I feel like that's a lie, but whatever. So I thought it was really interesting that they talked about how white rappers are guests in the house of hip hop. You know, they're guests in Black culture. Because it's true, it's not, I'm sorry, but it's not their culture. Like, it's not. You didn't grow up in the culture. I feel the same way about like white people that want to say nigga. Like, why do you want to say nigga? Like, let's sit down and have a conversation about why you want to say nigga. I'm sure you didn't grow up saying it. Like, I'm sure you didn't grow up in a household where you all called each other nigga. Like, you had to reach a certain point in your life where you realized, hey, there's this word that I'm not supposed to be able to say, that Black people can say, that I can't say. Why can't I say it? You know, what does it mean? Blah, blah, blah. I should be able to say it. That's just more white privilege bullshit. Like, you take something away from a child that's used to having everything, they're going to throw a temper tantrum. Like, I want it, I want it, I want it, I want it. I want my bubble gum, I want a pony. You know, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory type shit. And it's the same thing, you know, you can enjoy hip-hop, of course, you can enjoy musicality, you can enjoy the music, you can love it, you can love the culture, but you did not grow up in the culture. Very few, you know, I'll probably give it to Eminem growing up in Detroit. Very few white artists actually grow up in the culture, you know, around Black people. And as that being their native culture. White American culture is very different from our Black American culture. And you basically reach a certain point where you say like, oh, I enjoy this. I wanna do it. I wanna be a part of it. But you're a guest. You're a guest. I can't walk up in somebody else's house and be like, bitch, this is my shit now. Like, no, I'm a guest in their home. Like, that's just how it works. So overall, I thought it was a really good interview. Like I said, they basically rehash a lot of the same old shit that Azealia Banks talked about. He just put kind of a white male spin on it. So if that's your cup of tea, you can feel free to go watch it. It's long. I'd skim it. Honestly, it starts off slow. There's tons of slow parts. The only shit that I really enjoyed was hearing his perspective on being a guest in the House of Hip Hop, and also his perspective about, you know, how the Grammys and other award shows are political, and how, you know, he knows, they talk about Kendrick Lamar's most recent single, I, and how they think if that had been put out by a white artist like Macklemore, how it would probably be a top 40 hit, which again is just indicative of, you know, the white supremacy and our capitalist white supremacist society saying that Black art is better coming from white faces, which I've talked about many, many times. So if you guys want to watch it, I'll post a link. If not, go watch Azealia Banks' interview again, because her interview is awesome. And it's just, I'm glad that people are finally opening up and having these conversations and really talking about this and getting a dialogue going. And I'm glad that Azealia Banks kind of kicked down the door, because these are definitely conversations that we need to have, especially as hip-hop and rap and, you know, Black culture becomes more mainstream and global. Because it's wrong. A lot of what mainstream is trying to do, it's just wrong. Period. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one quick video. I'm going to put up a video tomorrow, a New Year's Eve video. I have some stuff I want to talk about. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this one and enjoy that one. And then I will see you next year. So watch the video if you want, or not. Who cares? Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Peace.